Hi everybody, thanks for watching. Welcome to another episode of Let's See If We Can Fix Craigslist Chainsaws. And I have here a Super XL Homelite, and runs pretty good, but the bar kept coming loose on it, and apologize for the mess, but working on getting it cleaned up while also trying to fix things at the same time, so it's hard to do both. I got to work on this a little bit, and what I found out is that there's studs in here. And I hope the lighting is okay, but this is the stud that comes in there. Has a machined end, so it fits into a slot and doesn't turn. So when you go ahead and put your bar on and tighten the nuts, it doesn't turn. So that's one method of accomplishing that. And then there is a sleeve that fits over top of here that is supposed to thread into that hole. And I don't know if you'll be able to see it or not. I haven't shot enough videos with this camera to see how good it is with up close, but I guess we'll find out. But the threads have been pulled out of there on this one, and I'm not sure what condition they are on this one, but at least it's not loose and not pulling out. But the sleeve does need to get tightened in there a little more, so it's at least flush or slightly recessed with that with the face of the bar support there. So yeah, without having that with good threads, this doesn't hold, and just as you tighten the bar, it just pulls the whole stud out, which then makes it loose. The bar is no longer pinched. I mean, in this one here, it's everything's on here and just can't do it, so it tends to slide and slide back, and then the chain loosens and then it comes off. So, but again, it runs pretty good. So, trying to figure out if it's worth actually doing a repair on here. If I don't know of a lot of options for this. One is putting a what they call a Healy coil or a thread repair kit in there. And the thread for this, according to what I could find by measuring it, it's a 9/16th 18 threads per inch sleeve. So we have to have a Healy coil with that inside thread of that same diameter. And one thing I learned, I've never had to really do much with thread repair kits until now. And apparently the insert that you put inside here, the ID is a standard size, which will fit the OD of the sleeve, but the OD of the thread repair insert is some sort of custom size, so it's not just the next thread size up, because that would seem like that would make it more convenient. And anyway, that's what from what my research I did actually indicated. So maybe there are thread inserts that do work that way, which would be a lot nicer, because those custom thread taps, they're called STI taps, and they stand for screw thread insert. And I don't know if they're all the same across all brands. They appear to be from the limited amount of research I did. So the question is do I want to invest in the tools? And so it would be the tap, the STI tap for a 9/16 18 thread insert, the thread insert, and then the drill. It's a 37/64 drill. And then I'm going to have to take probably a deep well socket and then cut it to match the sleeve so that I can thread it in there. Because this is pretty hard, because you have to have that stud on there in order to thread this in, and it's pretty hard to... you can take a screwdriver and tap it, or kind of drive it around with a hammer and a screwdriver. But a socket that would have the kind of the teeth that would fit in there would be best, especially if they're kind of tight, because otherwise it's just really hard to get in there with a screwdriver. So these are the things you kind of run into when you find stuff that's used and you really don't know the condition. A lot of times you don't get an option to really find out what's wrong with it till you get it home and you start playing with it, and then you find out all these issues. And I did run it enough with even when the chain was coming loose to see the rest of it. It seems to run start good, and it oils. So I don't think there's any other real issues with that. And that may be because it actually broke early on. How this happened, not real sure, because you shouldn't be able to pull this out. I mean, you want to keep these flush with the. You don't want to recess them too far, because when you do tighten them, you will pull them out. But if they're flush with the face of the housing, they shouldn't pull out, because the bar would actually would hold them in there, or the adapter plate that goes on there first. So, and I believe this is also magnesium construction. I wasn't sure if it was aluminum or magnesium, but according to some sites I found on the internet, it's magnesium construction. So that's a little bit stronger, I think, than aluminum. So that's probably good. But at any rate, the question is, do I want to invest in that? So I found all the parts, and I think they add up to about $40. Then I get like 10 inserts, thread inserts, and then the tap, and then the drill, which I don't have a 37/64 drill. Most of my drills just go up to 1/2 inch. So again, but it's a shame to really throw the chainsaw away just because of that. I haven't really thought about any other real repair options, but with these being a dissimilar metal between magnesium and the steel stud, there's no way of really welding that in that I'm aware of. Maybe there is, but that's not going to be any cheaper for me, because I'm not set up to do dissimilar welding, and I don't think that would really be a good idea, just because of the mess it's going to make here, and it had to be remachined and everything else. So this is kind of things you can expect when you get used equipment off Craigslist. What are you going to have to do for repairs, and what is it, do you want to use the chainsaw, because it obviously I can put it together, and you wouldn't be able to tell anything wrong by looking at it until you went to use it, which actually creates another hazard. Is, do you want to have a chainsaw that actually runs and doesn't? It could be a safety hazard, because the chain keeps coming loose, and then somebody goes to use it and the chain comes off. So it's kind of looking like it needs to be repaired. So I think I'm just going to bite the bullet and get the parts coming and attempt to do the repair. And that's one of the other risks you take, is just because you got all the parts to fix it doesn't mean it's actually going to work out that well, because again, the hole is going to end up being a little bit larger than this, and then you'll start running into this corner, which is thin, and you might take that out, or you might not drill the hole exactly perpendicular. I'll be drilling it just by hand. I'm not even going to have any sort of drill press. So there's an opportunity a good opportunity to not be square or perpendicular with the chainsaw face. So you got that issue, and then it's going to be slightly off by the time it might be a little bit bent. I hope I'm not that bad at drilling it, but that's just some of the things you got to consider when you're doing these repairs, is you're taking a chance. So, or is it best just to wait till you find another one on Craigslist that's not broken and use it? But then it's not a matter. I've accumulated enough of these that I don't really want any more. I don't need any more, but it's just more of a matter of throwing what is essentially a decent saw away. So obviously people that have the parts on hand to repair these and the tools makes it much more easy to make that decision to go ahead and repair it. But when you got to buy special tools to do it, then you kind of wonder. But we'll go ahead and we'll buy the parts, and then if I ever run into this again, I have 3 or 4 of these Homelite, so I don't know if they're all the same design. I got a handful of 925s. I don't know if they use the same sort of fastening system, but at least if I do run it again, maybe they do, and I'm lucky enough to have the extra parts, I can repair those too. But I also don't think that this happens very much. This is the first time I've ever seen this with a chainsaw. And I think you know, somebody either dropped the saw or ran into the bar or something, or not 100% sure what they did to cause that to pull out those threads. So anyway, we'll go ahead and see what we can do, and hopefully get this back serviceable. Again, not real crazy about spending another 40 bucks on top of what I did. I don't know what I paid for this one. I doubt I even paid that much for the whole saw, but maybe I did. But so again, just things that you got to be prepared for. There's a lot of good deals on Craigslist. Sometimes you find some stuff that people just throw away because you know, carburetor's plug, fuel line fell off, or whatever over there. So there's some really good opportunities. But then you run into, once in a while you get one of these where it's like, boy, if that just could be fixed, you'd have a pretty good saw. So we'll give it a spin and see what happens, and then hopefully be able to get this back up and running. So I'm just trying to press as squarely as I can, just right along the center axis of the tap. And again, this would be best done in a mill. Guess I'm kind of running out of oil. This is pretty good stuff, this rapid tap. I like that. I also have this magic tap, or Tap Magic, which I remember when my dad used to get it, had like a cinnamon smell to it, and I think it was carcinogenic, so they switched the formula. Now it doesn't smell like cinnamon, but it doesn't seem to work as good either. Which is typical of things. There's always a trade-off, right? If you want something to work, sometimes it costs you some other in other ways. So, and any sort of shavings or whatever, that'll get in those threads, and as we put it together, it can cause some problems. All right. So that looked like it cleaned it up pretty good. Yeah, maybe a little bit on the side here yet. And I'm not sure how the gum out's going to fare with the paint. Not that it matters, not that the paint is perfect, but I'd hate for it just to bubble all off there if we don't have to have that happen. Okay, so a little bit of a setback with the Healy coils. I think we're still going to be able to get it to work. I did end up doubling them up. I wish I would have known I'd have been able to get that deep in there, because I would have definitely ordered longer Healy coils, but I think we're going to be okay with the two. I was able to get this one to start threading into the second one when the one on the nut is actually on it. So that's a good sign, and that will transfer that load into the second Healy coil, and also use that, because the one that's in there is just doesn't seem to have enough height to it to leave me comfortable with that it's going to hold, because I'm afraid that might pull out as well. So anyway, for me to continue with this, I'm going to have to make a tool then to tighten this up. So
Yeah, I would like that to go a little more flush. Just to summarize, we got a 2764, so I think that's what this was. 3764 drill, a 4319 3-9 tap, and let's see, what else did we have to get, and the Healy coils. So, and then a socket. So this will probably cost me $8 to $10 to replace 10 millimeter. So all this together, $50 I guess, plus whatever I paid for the chainsaw. We'll just say 50 or so, because I just don't remember where I got it from. But so now we're up to $100 plus 1 hour or so to fix it. So probably not too much time, but probably more time than you'd want to spend on something like that. So I'll leave it up to you guys whether something like that is worth it or not. I can see where it might not be, but I hate to throw away things that are potentially good, but then you got to consider your time too and how much that's worth, and you know, is there things that you could be doing that are more worthwhile than fixing old chainsaws. So now we have a kit for the next one, which I'll probably never need again in my life. That brings us back to, you know, these jobs you end up spending the money on and the time, and then you buy all these components, and then, you know, I've never had to fix these in the past 30 years or do this job, so, you know, probably never need to do that again. Now I got to store these parts, try and remember where they are if I ever do, in the rare instance, run across it again. So it's just all things you got to take into account and see if it's worth doing. So with that said, let's go out and at least get a little bit of this thing running. So it's warm, it should start first pull, and we'll cut into this branch that fell on me here last week. See if it's any good, and I can burn it potentially. So, I don't know, you may want to hear a little bit about these saws. I don't know a ton on them. Most of my information's comes from, I think it's Acres Net or something like that. But he built a pretty nice website that goes through all the models and things of the various manufacturers. So the Super XL12, which is what this is. The Super, my understanding is it just comes with an automatic oiler, and I think it's like 3 cc's bigger than the non-Super XL12. And the 12 comes from, it's supposed to be a 12-pound power head, I believe. Certainly a pretty old design, not a powerhouse by any means, but appears to be pretty reliable. They made them in these blue and white colors, and I think red. Then there was some ones that had some green on them too. I'm not sure all the little sub models they had, but I got a few of these. I got more than I need of these, and but I think they're a good go-to saw just for, like I said, I wouldn't necessarily want to run full-time logging with something like this. It's just going to be too slow, and but it's good for just kind of these little knickknacks, cleaning up fallen trees and things like this. So I like them. I'd rather spend the money. Not sure again about the time fixing them. That's depends on what type of person you are, I guess, and then versus going to the box store and getting them. So not sure on the years of the blue ones. I'm guessing this is right around 1970, maybe as late as mid 70s. I think after that they colored them red. So anyway, just want to cut up this branch that fell. at least make a few cuts and show you guys how it runs after all this, so we can at least see fruits of whatever labor I spent on it. Wow, and it made me a liar right off the bat. Wouldn't even start off on the first pull. Fifth pull, sixth pull. Boy. So now let's see if she starts first pull. So it must have been just cooling down to that point where it needed to be choked, and I didn't choke it. But this looks pretty good. Getting into here took a little bit to cut. I didn't try sharpening the chain yet. Not quite cutting quite as fast as I'd like. So the chain could use a little bit of touching up. And we'll do that one of these days. Yeah, looks good. That's all I got. Thanks for watching, guys. Hope you enjoyed this. Maybe make you have some initiative to go out and get one of these old saws and fix it up. It's kind of fun to do, and just fun to use, so it'll be good for a while.